painting to photography, from beadwork to woodworking. KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University presents Art Beat. Art Beat highlights the work and accomplishments of local artists from in and around Winona. Support for Art Beat is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Today on Art Beat, we get an inside look at the 2025 iDMAa Conference and exhibition, which took place from October 9th to October 12th, 2025, on the campus of Winona State University. iDMAa stands for the International Digital Media and Arts Association and explores the creation of many types of media made by everyday people. This year's exhibition focuses on folk media in the digital age. This week on Art Beat, we get a chance to talk with Professor Kathryn Hannahan from Winona State University and Issac Campbell, an artist specialized in wheat paste murals, about their topic, An Introduction to Fortepan. I'm Kristine Osorio, inviting you to join me as we explore Fortepan with Kathryn Hannahan and Issac Campbell on Art Beat. Continuing the presentation, we have Professor Kathryn Hannahan from Winona State University.
I turn this over to I'm going to skip this slide about the commenting of photography, and we're just going to go with Fortepan, Minnesota. Now that Bettina and her collaborators have built this incredible platform, Issac and I are really excited to build the Fortepan, Minnesota archive and make it representative of the diverse lived experiences of all Minnesotans throughout the state. And we wanted to share a few reasons why we think this project is so important. So we're not only trying to preserve cultural heritage, but we're also making it active. We're interested in preserving the history of everyday life, a kind of history that's usually not deemed important enough for textbooks or museums, but it's these everyday moments that give our lives meaning and make us who we are. So we think that's pretty important. It makes us feel connected to our families and our communities and to Minnesota itself. And cultural heritage reminds us where we come from and gives us something meaningful to pass on to future generations. So by digitizing and sharing these images, we're not just trying to protect them from decay and loss, we're trying to bring the past into the present. And so we can engage with these images from wherever we are, whenever we want to. Fortepan brings together thousands of family photos to tell a shared story of Minnesota. And so by placing these photos from different families and towns and generations next to each other on this interactive timeline, we're creating a sense of continuity across time and place, which allows us to remember together and reminds us of what we have in common. Fortepan creates an inclusive narrative by valuing the lived experiences of all Minnesotans, not just those traditionally preserved in the archives. Our goal is to collect family photos that show how all of our stories fit into Minnesota's history, from communities whose stories have been marginalized to those with more dominant narratives. We still have a lot of work to do. As you see in the Minnesota archive, it's pretty dominantly white, and we're committed to doing the work to getting into communities and making it more representative of all of the stories of Minnesota. We just kind of started curating this archive, and so a lot of the photographs come from, like Bettina said, Iowans who were in Minnesota on vacation, so there's a lot of Iowans fishing, and then my grandma is like all over the archive. We're just starting out. We have a lot of work to do, but we're excited about the challenge, and I think we'll get there, little by little. This photo behind me is from the first native collection that we scanned last year. A friend of mine from Boys Fort donated a lot of images of her grandmother, and then we made a photo story with it, like Bettina showed us that tool, with some text that she had written for her grandma's eulogy, and it was just kind of like a beautiful tribute to her grandma. And so now her grandma's in the archive. So the archive is open to anyone who wants to contribute, and it's really just about getting the word out, which is what we're doing here today. And so I definitely have to plug if you have photographs that you want to donate, I brought my cards and I'll put them up here. And so if you see these photos and you're thinking, about that like photo of your grandma's first car, or I know you're thinking of photos that you have that are incredible, touching photographs. We want them, and take my card and get in touch when you're ready to digitize them. I'm happy to walk you through the process and show you how it works. We've done this in the photography class, so we're going to be seeing some more photographs from students at WSU in the archive, and wheat pasting some of those as well, which will be cool. There's room for everyone's story in this archive. We talked about most of us have so many special photographs collecting dust in our parents' basements or on our aunt's bookshelves. And this project really creates a purpose for engaging with those people who are the keepers of our history as a way to better understand ourselves and as a way to honor the lives of our elders by learning about their stories and ensuring them that we know them and that we'll pass them on to future generations. So the family archive is more about just old photos. They're objects that actually help us understand who we are. And I think at this time in American society, when we have this epidemic of loneliness and people are feeling more isolated than ever, connecting to our past and learning from where we come from can ground us and make us feel connected to something larger than ourselves. Fortepan creates spaces where people come together in a lot of different ways. We collect photos through scanning hubs where people can bring their albums to digitize and converse about their collections. We install the photographs as public art installations, so the community comes together to put up the public art installation and then enjoy it while it's up. And then the open online archive invites anyone to share their stories and see themselves reflected in one another's photographs. So as Bettina said, Fortepan is a free open resource with the Creative Commons Share Alike license. So it can be used in so many different ways in the classroom. It can be used, the photographs can be used as a primary source, student projects, academic research, and so many creative endeavors that Issac will talk about. Just a little story, in our Intro to Photo class this semester, we used the archive to learn about different composition techniques, balance, rule of thirds, frame within a frame. Then I had my students look through their family archives and talk to family members about 10 to 15 photographs that they wanted to share with the class. So then students chose those photographs and explained to the class why they chose that particular photo. Maybe it was the composition or the lighting. There are so many incredible photos that just blew my mind how beautiful they were. This is one from a student whose great-great-great-grandfather was a telegram deliverer on the railroad. And so they brought this one in. And Liv has a few really amazing ones of her great-great. Actually, I thought about one of your collections. It would, Tender Men. I think a few would fit into Tender Men. Yeah, Liv has some Tender Men photographs for you. Yeah. It was a great uncle who was with the actors all the time. Yeah. So I think there's, so it was just a really incredible experience. This is the first photography class I've brought the archive into, and it was just a really great way to kind of connect technical learning with personal history. And I've found when I do different types of personal narratives assignments, sometimes I do an audio narrative, personal narrative, and this was a photography personal narrative. It creates a better learning environment for everyone in the class because we get to know each other on a deeper level. We feel comfortable collaborating, asking for help, and it just makes for a better learning environment to open up the semester with a personal history story. So the educational possibilities are truly endless, and so are the creative possibilities.
Wrapping up, that was Professor Kathryn Hannahan. We got a chance to talk with her about her experience of preserving cultural heritage through Fortepan.
So my name is Kay Hannahan, and I am on the Fortepan panel. Fortepan is an archive that celebrates family history and family photography, vernacular photography. And so we collect everyday moments of life and put them on an interactive timeline so people can better understand place and time and Minnesota's history and culture. So I met Issac Campbell in Budapest on a Fulbright grant, and he was doing a project with wheat pasting photographs from the Hungarian archive. And so I did some wheat paste with him there while I was working on a different documentary project. And then we just stayed connected. So then we decided that we would start collaborating on the archive and start collecting more photos. So I started adding to the collection through my own family photographs. And so I went through my parents' basement and looked through all their photographs and chose maybe 25 to add to the collection. Most of them are my grandma when she's younger, and it's really kind of amazing to see a young grandma in this beautiful way that you never really see your grandma when she's old. Then a few of my siblings when they're young, and then a few that I have no idea who they are. They're very old photographs, and I'm not sure who they are, but I really liked them either for the composition or the lighting. And that's what's cool about the archive, is that it's curated, so not every photograph goes up. We really want every photograph to be a wow photograph, either aesthetically or emotionally or something that it reveals. I wish I would have documented more of my grandma's stories and my grandparents' stories before they died, because you think you'll remember everything, and then as time goes on, it gets harder and harder to remember. So yeah, I think it's important to have those conversations now. The goal is to understand that our family history has value. Sometimes we think that just because it's not, formal history in a textbook, that our family history doesn't mean anything, but it really is important to understand who we are as people and to pass forward to future generations. So I think it gives us opportunity to look in our archives, learn more about ourselves, and then share it with the public. I haven't done as much categorizing as Bettina. Yeah, I have 2 small children, so I don't get to categorize as much, I think, as Bettina does. But yeah, I loved all of her lists that she made. They're so awesome. And I actually have made a collection to make a photo story of this friend of mine whose grandma grew up on Fort Boy's reservation. So we digitized her stories and made them into a list and then made a photo story from there, but not as creative as like Saggy Couch or Butts on Fence. Tendermen. Yeah, so people bring their collections to either scanning hubs or actually right now Bettina's going to give us a kind of like a mini scanning hub, a scanner and a computer, and go through and digitize. You can digitize any photograph you want, and then Issac and I would just choose the best ones that we would like to add to the collection, and then you keep all the digitized photos no matter what, and then a few of them go onto the Fortepan website. So there's like metadata, so you can fill in as much as you know, and we really encourage like long stories. If you know like who these people are, what they're doing, what year, as much information as you have, we encourage you to input that into the website, so it just helps with understanding the context of the photograph. I hope people learned about the platform and use it in their own creative practices. So like I use it sometimes in my documentary work, or Issac animates from it. So it's a really cool opportunity to like use it and remix it because it has that Creative Commons license, so anyone can use it and do whatever they want with it. Called an attribution share alike. So yeah, you have to attribute it to Fortepan, but you can use it any way you want. To usually the donor. It's not even Fortepan. I think it's like whoever donates the photograph. So to learn more, go to fortepan.us and you can see the archival collection there. Start making your own lists, photo albums, and downloading whatever you want.
Coming up next, we have our final presenter, artist Issac Campbell.
So, quick poll of the room. Raise your hand if you would consider yourself or your profession a creative profession. Maybe you're publishing books. Maybe you're working with a marketing team, a comms team, or something like that. Fortepan is a really special resource because it's designed to cultivate creativity. As a creative myself, an artist, a digital media specialist working with lots of things, there are not a lot of resources out there in the world that are designed with a creative person in mind as the end user. And so to kind of encapsulate all the things that make Fortepan work really special, we talked about categories, tags, and searchability. That when you find yourself diving into the archive, you can find yourself 2 hours later having searched through 20 tags and wound up looking at something you weren't expecting to. That's promoting a sense of creativity and excitement and imagination. It's not like Google where you type in something specific and it only gives you that one thing, right? You want to be in an environment that can cultivate excitement and imagination. Fortepan really focuses on a curation aspect. So the images you're seeing are beautiful. They're interesting, they're exciting, they're meaningful, they say something. Fortepan video gives a really good explanation of the difference in resolution. So a lot of images sometimes are scanned at like 72 ppi. We scan at 1300. We scan very, very large. So that means that the image size is really large. And for a creative person, if you're working in video editing or documentary, you can't have a tiny little pixelated picture if you're going to put it in a high definition or 4K video. You need something that's really large. So the fact that all the images are ready to go for digital applications, for printing with wheat pasting, which we'll talk about in a minute, that's really important for promoting lots of different creative applications. And then, of course, as Bettina talked about, the Creative Commons is huge because nothing is more depressing than finding something you want to use or finding that image that's perfect for that chapter in your book or for your presentation or for your school project or whatever, and then finding out it's behind a paywall. Or you have to pay $500 to license a high resolution from Getty, right, for like one thing, and you're like legally bound to all this stuff. So the Creative Commons is kind of the final piece here that really invites anybody into Fortepan and to use the assets there to create things. So I'm just going to go through different digital applications that students in the past have used for different projects, animations, photo collages, things like that we've displayed publicly for different public art projects over the years. It's really exciting to see what students come up with. Mixing mediums, mixing colors, trying different things. It's always so fun to see what people come up with. Now, how many of you are in the room are wheat pasters? At the end of today, all of you are going to raise your hand because you're going to be a wheat paster. Wheat pasting is a form of street art where you take paper images and glue them up to buildings. In this case, you can see here, when we go larger than life, there are large pieces that are individual and then puzzle pieced together to create a complete image. So I have gotten to do a lot of work.
Tell the story of Shirley Dean.
Oh yeah, so this is Shirley Dean. This is her on her birthday. And there's a whole series, just like Tender Men and Floppy Couches, there's this whole series of birthday cakes that are outside because a lot of times, especially in the winter, it was too dark to take a good picture inside. So they'd send people out in the front yard when it was sunny to get a picture of them with a birthday cake. So we wheat pasted Shirley Dean as kind of like a local hero. She was a donor and just a really special way to acknowledge someone, but also acknowledge that collective history behind the birthdays that we all share. So over the years, I've had the opportunity to do a lot of wheat pasting with photography, with Fortepan photos. Kay and Bettina and I have had a lot of discussions about the magic that happens between specifically, publicly sourced photos that are in Fortepan and the act of wheat pasting, of street art, of taking the art to the people, taking it to the streets, taking it out of a museum and putting it on the side of a bar with picture of people drinking beer, My thesis for my master's was wheat pasting different Fortepan photos around Cedar Falls, creating conversations in the community about the photos, our collective memory as people, the shared experiences we have, kind of getting people out of COVID. We've done a lot of different themed events with our baseball photos and as kind of public promotion tools, and then really special events like the dedication of a residence hall at Grinnell College, where I got to meet Edith Renfro-Smith, who is a super centurion. She was 110, and we wheat pasted her and her sisters across the street looking at her building that was dedicated in her honor last year. And that was just so special. But wheat pasting has also been in Winona. If any of you saw last year, right around this time, we did a wheat pasting gallery where I worked with photography students here at Winona State. We created a gallery of their own photos as well as a few Fortepan photos that were downtown. And it gave students the opportunity not just to show their photographs and show their work, but also participate in creating this gallery outside. And I think for a lot of them, it was a really moving experience because they weren't just posting their work to social media. They were putting it out into an environment. And it was really exciting to see them and help facilitate that for them. So it was just a great time. A lot of cool photos. I'm sure some of you probably were there. But wheat pastings don't always have to be big. In Grinnell, as a thank you, there was a collection where this artist from like early 1900s took all these pictures of her cat in domestic scenes. So she dressed up her cat and took pictures. And if you think about taking a picture of a cat that long ago with a camera like that, it was very difficult. So as a thank you present to that community for all the great work we did, I went around and wheat pasted all these little cats around town in the scavenger hunt. And people went nuts. They loved it. They wanted to go find all the cats. It was so great. And recently, we've been experimenting more with these mini wheat pastes, these little tiny ones that really they still do what a wheat pasting does. They interrupt your day, they bring you joy, they surprise you, but making them miniature and cutting them out and putting them on the sidewalk. So that's actually what you all are going to do. We have a bunch of images that are pre-cut, but you have to cut some paper if you're wheat pasting. So I think we'll have everybody come up and pick a photo, cut it out, and then we're going to go wheat paste. So on your marks, get set. Let's go wheat paste, everybody.
Finishing up the presentation, that was artist Issac Campbell, and he shared his love of wheat pasting and his experience working on Fortepan.
My name's Issac Campbell. I'm a wheat paste artist and a digital media specialist. I'm here with the Fortepan US Archive, presenting with Kay Hannahan and Bettina Fabos. I love getting in front of interested audiences and sharing this really cool project and kind of the way it's changing my life and like the world. So Fortepan is an archiving platform. It's also kind of a way of thinking. I like to think about photographs and archiving in the world because it says that family photos of everyday people, vernacular photos, however you want to call them, they're valuable. A lot of vernacular photos, family albums don't find their way into history museums or archives or places of prominence kind of in our historical discussions. And so Fortepan says, these photos of everyday people, of their lives, of rural America, of small towns across Minnesota and Iowa, they all have a purpose. They have a story to tell, that the lived experiences of those people are valuable and that they need to be saved. And so what we do is we take photos that are donated, we scan them at high resolution, put them on a website, and then mix them in with collections from other donors to help create this collective memory of places, themes, of time periods across Iowa, Minnesota, and different parts around the United States. We like to think about how do people think about photos. Time is one of them, placing photos on a timeline chronologically by year when they were taken. But people also think about photos through place, where they were taken. Or if you go to search for something, you're generally looking for maybe a place. So locating those photos, putting them on a map, we get a lot of information from donors about where those photos were taken, but a lot of times we don't. And so we have people that work to help match up photo locations to put a photo to a place. And then when we're talking about specifically geolocating photos, that means not just knowing exactly what town they were taken in or on what street corner, but precisely like where was the photographer standing. We use a couple different techniques to help retrace where that photograph was at. One of those is taking a reference photo. So we actually print off the photograph and then you physically go stand there and you look to see where does this photo match up with the landscape or with a building. And once you find it, then we make a little mark on some of our open source map software that we use and then pin that photo exactly to that spot. So it can be everything from just a general town or like a street corner or a specific point where the photographer took that picture. There's a number of aerial photos or photos like if you think about that was maybe taken from inside a building, that maybe that building's not there anymore. Maybe that building is inaccessible. Drones are a really cool way to, again, get that camera up there to where the photographer was and get a new modern day photo of the area, like a 360 image, and then be able to place that photo right there. I know that we started with the University of Northern Iowa with the photo matching simply because there were some resources on campus that allowed us to start experimenting there. It was also very clear because a lot of the university, while the grounds had changed, there were some pretty important landmarks that had not changed, and so it was very easy to kind of go off a basis of that, of a place and location we knew very well, and getting high-quality images that we could go and kind of experiment with that. So campus of the University of Northern Iowa is where it all started. Under the guidance of Bettina and when you're in a liberal arts college or education, a main point of that is exposing yourself to new things. I remember a long time ago, I had another digital media professional tell me, your job is out there. It maybe just hasn't been invented yet, or you haven't found it yet. And so when I stumbled on wheat pasting, I was just really excited about the way that photos were interacting in the environment. It wasn't like an advertisement or a billboard. It was something different. We were talking about location and place. One of the really neat things about wheat pasting is that it allows you to build a lot of meaning or kind of points of meaning in what the photo is, where it's placed, is it on a specific building? Is it where the photographer was standing? Does it have something to do with, you're wheat pasting a canoe near a river where people go? So it offers a lot of opportunity to build in meaning with art. Particularly, I love using old photographs, but wheat pasting is used for all different kinds of things like advertising, posters, political discussions, things like that. But I think there's a really cool match between these archival photos of people, of places, and wheat pasting them out in the environment where everyone can see. It's something also that people can participate in. So we've got a whole bunch of new, fresh, wheat paste graduates out here learning how to wheat paste today, and it's so much fun to get to teach people too. Yeah, wheat pasting is all about interrupting your day, right? It's all about, I think a college campus is a really great place because we're outside here in front of Phelps Hall. And how many times do you come in and out of this building? How many times do you walk on these sidewalks that yesterday or even this morning you went to class here and there was nothing here? And now it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and there's all these wheat pasted things all of a sudden out of nowhere. It surprises you. It takes you out of your phone. It like interrupts your day and it makes you stop and think, or maybe it makes you smile or gives you a moment of refreshment. I don't know. There are so many things trying to control our attention, and I think that art is a really important way to break that cycle of being stuck in like the same behavioral patterns or like being on your phone, for example, walking to class. And so to get interrupted with art that is all of a sudden here and that's going to disappear here in a few days because it's all going to get washed away, I think it's really special and it's important. Oh, I hope people are excited. I hope people are excited and feel motivated and curious to explore. The Fortepan archive is out there. We've got thousands and thousands of images. I'm really excited because Kay and I are going to be working to build up Fortepan, Minnesota. That means applying for grants, working on new art projects, getting new communities, having more discussions about what it means to look inside your family photo albums and donate, to talk to other people about building this collective memory for Minnesota. And I'm not Minnesotan. I grew up in Iowa, but I've moved to Minnesota, and I'm really happy to kind of bring this with me and share what I think is a really wonderful public project that is all about bringing people together. It's all about understanding who we are. It's about painting a really complex, wonderful way to look at who Minnesota is, the stories that are here, the different types of people, the quilt, if you will, of all different people of all different backgrounds from all over the world that call Minnesota home. Fortepan, Minnesota is a really exciting way to facilitate that discussion, to help get people to find their place in history, to have conversations about identity. I can ramble on and on forever, but it's a public project for the public good. And I think we need a lot more of that right now. We need things that inspire us, that make us feel a part of something, a part of community, not segmented into small groups. And Fortepan, that's like at its heart. Because if you think about it, all these family archives are segmented, right? Like they're in people's basements, they're in your closet, they're in shoebox, whatever. And Fortepan, Minnesota is all about encouraging people to go home, explore those photo albums, have conversations with your family about your own family history, about what this is, what these people were doing, and then contribute them to this archive that is made up of all these stories. And they're no longer isolated in basements. They're all mixed together in this amazing online archive. So it's we're really excited, and I hope other people are too, because everyone has a place to contribute. One of the things I think that's really important is that when you look at a photograph, you don't have to know who's in that photograph to feel connected to it. It can be something like something silly that, captures your imagination or speaks to your heart, or maybe it's people going to a place you used to go to as a kid that you haven't thought about in a long time, but when you see people there, it triggers that memory in your brain and it makes you feel really happy. That's kind of part of our collective experience as Minnesotans or Midwesterners or whoever, as people on this planet. We have collective experiences. These photos help bring that up in our own memories, and I think it's a really special thing to be able to look at other people's photos but see yourself in them. And this would just be a pitch for my good friend Kay, but for also the department. encouraging people that may not be in an arts or communication track, come over and take a class. Explore outside your own program. There are a lot of really great opportunities, and I know that in the future, Kay's going to be working more to build in Fortepan into the curriculum. These are classes that anybody can take and find a lot of meaning in. So you don't have to be in this department or on this track to find your way into a comms class about Fortepan or archival photos. I think it's something we all can contribute, and I think anybody who takes a class with her would be really, really happy.
Thanks again to Kathryn Hannahan and Issac Campbell for joining us today on Artbeat. To learn more about the International Digital Media and Arts Association or the iDMAa Conference and Exhibitions, you can visit their website at idmaa.org, spelled iDMAa.org. You can also check out more works by Kathryn Hannahan at khannahan.com and Issac Campbell at isaaccampbell.art. For more conversations on art, tune in to Artbeat, Tuesdays at 12:30 right here on 89.5 KQAL. For links to podcasts of Artbeat and other KQAL original programming, go to kqal.org. I'm Kristine Osorio, and we've just heard from Kathryn Hannahan and Issac Campbell on Artbeat.
Artbeat is written and produced by KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us on the web at kqal.org.